Alright, hello everyone. Alright, this is my CPC1100 that was formerly sick, and I decided to do basically a full upgrade on it and go through it and touch all the areas where they commonly have issues. So I figured I would go through and show you some of the major components. So if you're thinking about doing a repair, you would know what you're getting into ahead of time. So let's just start excuse me, right here at the beginning here. Here is your your cover for the CPC series, and what you'll find on the back are two boards, and then you will find, here I'll set this down so I can point at it. So you've got your power inlet here, you've got your power switch, and those both feed into this first board. And this board actually has the PC terminal and the auto guide terminal on it as well. There are a couple of some sort of controller regulator chips, voltage regulator, and a couple caps on here. So there is potential this board could go. I think Celestron sells these for $22 or $25. Then there's a little cable, ribbon cable, that goes to the second board, and all this board is simply a breakout board for the other. And it's all the inputs for the hand control and the two aux, which are pin for pin the same, as you can see on the back. All they are is just distributed. Now, when you're disassembling this, there are three connectors. Okay, I recommend when you take it apart, mark one of the connectors on the first board. I did mine with a silver X, as you can see there, and then mark the corresponding connector in the base, so you can easily put them back together. These two are grouped together, and then this one goes to the GPS. You can see it's marked GPS. Alright, so over here at the base, you can see here's the two connectors. This is the one I marked in silver, and then the other that goes into the first board, and then the GPS one that goes into the GPS. So that's all there is to taking the base off, or the base cover off, I should say. That is attached by 4 screws that'll go here, these two holes, and these two holes. And then let me grab the clutch assembly. This is the clutch assembly. That screws on. There's one set screw. It's just a limit set screw so that you can't screw it all the way off. You don't actually tighten that set screw down. You're just going to leave it in a little ways so it'll catch on that lip so this can't pull off. Okay? Now, this is your, I don't know which axis this is. I always get it screwed up. But anyway, this is the main drive for the base. You can see in there, there's an Allen screw. And if I'm looking in there right, you know what? I need to take this back apart because my washer didn't get put on. I'm glad I'm doing this. So I'll take this back apart. But regardless, this is your main drive gear. And that is a washer that attaches. Or washer and a screw that attach this. This is just a Teflon nylon bearing for the clutch plate. And then when you take your drive gear off, I'm not going to do it now because it's all lubed up already, but you have a Allen grub screw here and on the other side. So you're going to remove this Allen screw, these two grub screws, and you'll have to probably, here, you know what, I'll do it anyway. Hold on, I gotta set the camera down for 1 second here. Alright. Well, it's not going to stay, so you're going to go black for a minute. Okay. In order to remove the gear, you have to actually take, this is on a, this motor, you can see the spring is on a pivot, so you have to push down and pivot it out of the way. Then this will pop off. Let me set this aside. Now you can see this is your friction plate for your main drive. Those are those two grub screws. Underneath is your, I called it a lock bolt or lock nut, and then there's a washer. Underneath that is the main, I think it's a thrust bearing. And then in the base, this channel, here, let me show you. Alright, see this channel? that actually rides on top of the ball bearings in the base. I'm not going to take all that apart. You can see some pictures on the forum that I took of that assembly, but basically you replace those with ball bearings, chrome ball bearings, and then re-grease and reinstall this thrust bearing, and then put this whole assembly back together and the gear and everything. Alright, so that's the base drive. Now, in your, spin this around, if you're facing the back of the scope, on your right side is your GPS. Okay, so here's that GPS cable coming up. This is your GPS interface board. Okay, Celestron sells these. I forget how much they are. They're not very expensive, about 20 bucks. And then your cables leading to your receiver and antenna. This is your actual GPS unit up here. That is pretty expensive. I want to say over around $100. Then you have a bearing here on this side, which I didn't mess with because that axis is working fine. Now the other side, so the left side of the scope, all the other cables come up in here and you have your motor control board. Alright, I replaced mine because I thought it was faulty. It turns out I don't think it was, so I actually have a spare now, but those are $107 each. And once again, mark your cables before you take anything apart. Give you a little bit of background with this scope. Some of the failures you will see that'll cause you to want to even dig into it. And from what I've heard, Celestron's warranty turnaround is quite long. Most of the repairs you can do for about $100. What you'll see is your handset. When you start it, it'll say initializing, and then it won't ever get past that point. Or if you have an older firmware, like a 4.03, it'll say initializing and then go to just garbage on the screen. I thought that was the motor control board, and I saw forum posts that said that's what it was, so that's why I replaced mine. Turns out that's not what it was. Mine was the handset. So I bought, let me show you my old handset. I had the old first generation Nexstar for the CPC, and that didn't matter what I did. I replaced the motor board, flashed it, didn't change anything. I just got this one in today. This is a brand new Nexstar Plus with upgraded firmware in it, and that actually works properly. I did a full test today. All the drives operate. Everything's fine now. So if you're having an initialize and then nothing else error, it's one of two things. It's either your motor control board right here, or it is your handset. The handset is about $130 to $150 depending where you buy it. The motor control board is $107. In my case, I should have bought the handset first. Oh well, I now have a spare motor control board as well. So worst case, it looks like you're looking at probably about $250 if you had to replace both. While I'm at it, basically this telescope is pretty easy to repair. One of the points I wanted to make was if you ever found one and the person said it wasn't working, it was completely dead, I think it would cost you about $500 to completely gut and repair it if you ignored the GPS. These motor assemblies, Celestron sells them for both the main axis and then the axis that's in the arm. I don't remember what they're called, but I want to say they're around $120 to $150 each. So if you replaced both of those, the motor control board and the handset, you'd be like $500-600 tops. So if you can find a scope that's dead for a good deal, say under $1,200, and you are willing to do the repair, you could basically have a brand new scope for less than new. So all that being said, I'll just continue going on here. Last thing is the this axis in the arm, same setup as the base. Your clutch goes on here, same deal with the grub screw, nylon washer, and your gear. If you do take this apart, I recommend taking your gear off, degreasing the entire gear and using a better quality grease than they ship with it. Same thing for the main and the base. So anyway, that's all the major parts of your CPC. This is a CPC1100, but I'm sure the CPC800 is very similar. And I wish you luck. This has been quite the adventure. It's taken me about 2 weeks to get to this point, but I finally have a scope that works again, and it is a much smoother drive. You can actually tell the operation or the movement of the base is much smoother now after I did the ball bearing mod. So best of luck to you, and I will see you on the forum. Bye.